This is David with BestRest Products, home of the Cyclops tire inflator that has a lifetime warranty. Today we're going to be doing an installation of a tire pressure management system, TPMS, on my BMW 800 GS. TPMS, that's for street bikes, right? No, not necessarily. It's for dirt bikes too. In this case the 800, but you could put it on a trail bike, a 450 KTM. The reason you want to have a tire pressure system that monitors your pressure is if you get a deflation situation where you pick up a nail. Often I drop my pressure from highway pressure down to 25 psi on the trail, and I pick up a nail or I get a flat. The only time I'm going to know that that tire is actually gone flat is when the bike starts acting squirrely, and I can't tell you how many times that has happened. And by the time I figure out what's going on, the tire or the tube has been damaged beyond repair. So this system is going to mount on the bike. It will show me the tire pressure in real time. It will also show me the temperature inside the tire, and it's very easy to install. The system is made by Cyclops. We're one of the authorized dealers. It's a great company located just south of Seattle. The system works off of a wireless sensor that mounts to the valve stem of the tire. It sends a signal to a display unit, and as you ride you can actually watch the tire pressure. When I leave Seattle, I set my tire pressure at, let's say, 34, 36. I ride to the top of a nearby pass. My tire pressure has now gone up to over 40 because of the change in elevation and pressure. If I really want to monitor that, I can let air out of the tire, and it's very simple to do. So the system works. We're going to show you how it works. We're going to show you the installation, and I think we'll convince you that this is something that you'll want to have on your bike. Let's talk about the components that come in the Cyclops TPMS kit. First, you have a full set of instructions. Always good to read them. This is the display unit. It's got a color LCD display that measures about 1 inch by 3/4 of an inch. This will tell you the tire pressure in each tire, front and rear. You can toggle between PSI or bar, a European method of measuring tire pressure. You can also toggle to internal tire temperature in centigrade. It has a mounting system. This is a flat sticky mount with an extra pad. This would screw into the back of the display unit, and you can adjust it. This is a handlebar mount that has inserts so you can mount it on different size handlebars or tubes, and again it has a swivel mount that screws into the bottom of the display unit. This is a wrench that's used to change batteries. It comes apart, and there are instructions in the kit that allow you to disassemble the transmitters should you ever need to replace a battery. And it does come with 2 extra batteries. Battery life will be about a year. When you stop getting a sensor reading, then it's time to change the battery. It's got a spare seal for the inside of the sensor unit. Basically it's a rubber grommet. And this is the sensor unit. You have an A, which is for front tire, a B for rear tire. And these simply screw onto the end of the tire valve stem. Before you screw these down, you thread on this jam nut. This jam nut is then screwed up against the bottom of the sensor unit and locks it in place and prevents this from accidentally coming loose and losing it on the trail. And you get a small wrench. This wrench is used to loosen the jam nut. It's a convenience item. If you have a wrench of this size in your kit, carry that instead. But this is small enough that you can throw it in your tank bag. So these are the components. To wire the transmitter unit, it's got a 12-volt power supply wiring harness that plugs in right here, and then you run these 2 small wires back to a switched 12-volt power source. So in other words, when the ignition comes on, this unit will be activated. They're very small wires, so you don't need much amperage. You can run it off of any 12-volt switched circuit on the bike, such as a headlight wire or a fuse panel. Now we're going to install the transmitter unit onto the tire valve stem. Pretty simple to do. I remove the existing cap from the valve stem. I thread on the jam nut, and then I thread on sensor A, which is front tire. And I'll just tighten that down until it's finger tight, and then I'll spin up my jam nut, and then I'll take my jam nut wrench and I will tighten that down so that it's snug. The jam nut coming up against this sensor unit prevents it from loosening on the trail. Now note that this valve stem is coming out the center of the tire. It's not a right angle valve stem. You shouldn't use these on tires that have right angle valve stems that come off to the side. And the reason is the centrifugal force may cause damage to the valve stem if it's rubber. Cyclops does have an internal TPMS system, but that would require that we demount the tire and get inside to mount that system. We'll do the same thing on the back tire, and then we'll go to installation of the LCD display unit. So we've mounted the display unit on the bike. In this case, I used the handlebar mount off the bottom side of my handlebars, and the display is right here. I've got a rather cluttered instrument assembly with the GPS and the inReach plus my regular instruments, so it made more sense to put it here, but you could mount it anywhere, including using the adhesive pad mount. I ran a wire over and into a BMW plug that fits into my accessory outlet port, but after the video I'll probably hardwire it into the bike system. Until I turn on the key, this system is not activated, and when I turned on the key, now it has power, and it's reading 0 psi in both tires. Doesn't mean the tires are flat, it just means that I have to take the bike out and ride it a short distance so that the sensors begin to transmit the signal. Right now it's reading 0 psi. If I push this button, it would read the temperature in Celsius. Right now it's 28 degrees Celsius, and it doesn't have a feature for Fahrenheit, but as long as you know what the beginning temperature is, you'll be good. So let's put on our gear, let's go for a short ride, we'll come back in and we'll look at what the sensors are reading as far as my tire pressure. So I took the bike for a short ride up the street, maybe 200 or 300 feet, and suddenly the tire pressure reading showed up on the display. In this case, 32 psi front tire, 34 psi rear tire, and that's what I want for these particular tires. It also gave me a temperature reading of 20 degrees Celsius. By toggling this left button, it will switch between temperature and pressure. Two important things to remember are that, number one, when you first power on the system, when you first install it, it's going to read 0 because it hasn't had a chance to get the readings from the transmitters. The second thing is that this will display temperature and pressure at the last time the sensors were spinning and operating. So if you have a leak during the night, or you've been away from the bike for a week, and you come back and get on, it's going to read the last pressure that you had when you were on the trail. So until you start to spin the tires, you're not going to get the actual real-time temperature and pressure. So this is not a substitute to make sure that your tires are up to pressure when you get on and you start to ride. Those things should be part of your daily inspection system. Also, you go over the bike. So we've taken the bike out for a ride, we've checked our tire pressure. There is an alarm system on this that you can set custom values for maximum pressure, minimum pressure, and maximum tire temperature. The system automatically defaults. There's a chart right here. If it goes above 43 psi, it will give you an alarm. If it goes below 26, it'll give you an alarm. You can program each tire independently, which is what I did. Because I air my tires down on the trail, I set my minimum alarm at 20 psi for both front and rear, and I set my maximum psi at 45. And that way I can watch it to see if I have a leak, pressure will drop, and temperature will rise. So it's all custom based upon your particular riding needs, but you may be comfortable with the way it comes from the factory. So we've installed this, we've taken it for a ride, we've got our pressure readings. It's a fairly simple process. You just have to run the 12-volt wires. You have to put the sensor units or the transmitter units on the valve stems, and it's pretty much plug and play from that point on. It gives you peace of mind when you're riding. You'll know that you're not getting a deflated tire. You'll know that you're not getting too much heat from a low tire, and it's just another thing that will make your ride much more safe and enjoyable. This is David with BestRest Products, home of the Cyclops tire inflator. We'll see you on the trail.